Good Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday, November 12. The year is marching on, isn't it? Yep. Anyway, today's word from the office on Kaboodle. Jude 8 and 9. This is not a very pleasant passage, I have to say. Very critical and important because just as in Jude's day, so in our day, there are false teachers. In fact, Jesus spoke of false teachers coming. Paul spoke of false teachers coming. In fact, in Acts 20, before he had even passed away passed off the scene, he said, "After my departure, grievous wolves are going to come in and they're going to take some people." Peter talked about it. Paul talked about it. James talked about it. The Lord talked about it. And down through history, we have people who are not true shepherds, teachers, leaders. They're fake. And Jude identifies them. And actually, verses 8 to 13 describes their behavior. Let's turn this light out, see what happens. It's a little dark. I should get light somewhere else. Whoops. Crash, crash. Well, we'll let it go. I don't want that. There we go. How about that? Anyway, let's read 8 and 9. Let's read 8 to 13 because this is kind of a section. And Jude talks about these men. It comes up 5-6 times. These men. Look at verse 8. Yet in the same way, these men are the ones he's talking about in verse 4. Certain persons have crept in unnoticed. So these men are identified, and Jude identifies false teachers. In the same way, verse 8, these men also by dreaming defile the flesh. 3 things here. Reject authority, revile angelic majesties. But Michael, and he gives an example of reviling angelic majesties. Verse 9, but Michael the archangel, when he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him, Michael, Satan rather, the devil, a railing judgment, but said, the Lord rebuke you. Again, verse 10, but these men revile the things which they do not understand, and the things which they know by instinct, like unreasoning animals. By these things they are destroyed. Woe to them, for they have gone the way of Cain, and for pay they have rushed headlong into the error of Balaam, and perished in the rebellion of Korah. Another set of 3. Again, verse 12, these are the men who are hidden reefs in your love feasts, when they feast with you without fear, caring for themselves, clouds without water, carried along by winds, autumn trees without fruit, doubly dead, uprooted. Verse 13, wild waves of the sea. Let's read a few more here. Casting up their own shame like foam, wandering stars for whom the blackness of darkness has been reserved forever. Verse 14, it was also about these men that Enoch in the 7th generation of Adam prophesied. And what he said was, behold, the Lord came with many thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all and to convict all the ungodly of their ungodly deeds which they have done in an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Verse 16, these are the guys. These men, these are grumblers, finding fault, following after their own lusts. They speak arrogantly, flattering people for the sake of gaining an advantage. Anyway, we'll come to some of that later, but today, mostly verse 8 and the example given in verse 9. He says, yet in the same way, these men. Who are these men? These men are apostates. These men who claim Christianity but are not. These men are phony visionaries. These men lay claim to their dreams, and they say God gave them this dream. They attribute their dreams, they said dreamer. It's actually delusions, fantasizing, crediting God for a vision they themselves have conjured up by dreaming. There's three things here. By these visions that God told them what to do, they defile the flesh, which simply means they have no restraints. It speaks of sexual sin. There's no restraints. The only thing they can do is indulge. The second thing is they reject authority. They reject any and all authority. That means they're arrogant. You can't tell them what to do. They won't listen to anybody, and they're arrogant deliberately. And they have a demand, and that demand is, I'm going to do because the Lord told me to do it. They demand to run their own lives. And who are you to tell me what to do because the Lord told me? And another word is antinomian, which means anti-law. I'll do what I want to do. And the third thing is they revile angelic majesties. And next, and the illustration given, I lost a word there for a minute, is when Moses died. One commentator said, because Moses was a murderer, the devil claimed his right. But somehow, let's read it again. When he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, he didn't rail or speak against the devil. That's the Lord's job. Many today claim they have command over demons and the devil, like, we bind you, Satan. People have no authority to bind Satan. Even Michael the archangel didn't assume that authority. He didn't even assume to rebuke him. He said, the Lord rebuke you. And these are the men who have no respect for angels, who in the heavenly angels honor and glorify God continually throughout eternity. They're irreverent to angels. That's the picture of these men, these apostates. So again, you have these men in verse 8, these men in verse 10, in verse 12, verse 14, verse 16, verse 19. These are the ones. These are clearly identified as people who are apostates. Apostate is a person who claims Christianity, but inside he is a wolf, not a sheep. So, and 2 Peter 2 talks about this same incident, 2 Peter 2, verse 10 to 12. He didn't treat the devil flippantly, someone said, or rude. He didn't disrespect the devil or insult him. He just said, the Lord rebuke you. And that's a lesson we must learn. And so what can we learn from this, verse 8 and 9? We need to beware of them in three ways. And here they are. We need to beware of them because they physically are immoral. We need to be physically moral. That's how to be right. These men are intellectually arrogant. Arrogance. We need to be intellectually humble. Thirdly, they are spiritually disobedient to the Lord. They disobey his laws, and we must be spiritually sensitive. Those are the things we can learn from this passage. And that is the word from the office on Kaboodle. You have a good day. God bless.